Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Krishna, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jayam Vishnupada Paramahansa Paribrajacacharya Stotara Sata Sri Srimad Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupada Paramahansa Paribrajacacharya Stotara Sata Sri Srimad Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Chegaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gopinatha Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhana Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Shri Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Shri Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Shri Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Ganga Maya Ki Jai. Shri Ganga Maya Ki Jai. Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Shamaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga, Narayanam Namaskricham Naram Chaivam Narotamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Nasta Prayeshu Avadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttamashlokir Bhakti Bhavati Naishtiki. We're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, 14th chapter, 23rd verse. Is that correct? Yes. Esha Gurotama Bela Goranam Gora Darshana Charanti Yasyam Bhutani Bhutashna Bhutaesha Nucharani Ha Esha Gurutama Vela Goranam Goradarshana Charanti Yasyam Bhutani Bhutesha Nucharani Cha Esha Gurutama Vela Guranam Goradarshana Charanti Yasyam Bhutani Bhutesha Nucharani Ha. Esha Gurutama Vela Guranam Goradarshana Charanti Yasyam Bhutani Bhutesha Nucharani Ha.
Isha Guratama Vela,
Isha Gurutama Vela, Guranam Goradarshana,
Charantiya Sambhutani,
Charantiya Sambhutani, Bhuteshanu Charaniha, Isha Gurutama Vela, Guranam Goradarshana, Charantiya Sambhutani, Bhuteshanu Charanita. Ladies? Esha Gurutama Vela, Guranam Goradarshana, Charantiya Sambhutani, Bhuteshanu Charaniha, Esha Gurutama Vela, Guranam Goradarshana, Charantiya Sambhutani, Bhuteshanu Charaniha. Esha, this time. Goratama, most horrible. Vela, period. Goranam, of the horrible. Goradarshana, horrible looking. Charanti, move. Yasyam, in which? Bhutani, ghosts. Bhuta Isha, the Lord of the ghosts. Anucharani, constant companions. Indeed. Translation. This particular time is most inauspicious because at this time the horrible looking ghosts and constant companions of the Lord, of the ghosts, are visible. Purport. Kasyapa had already told his wife Diti to wait for a while, and now he warns her that failure to consider this particular time will result in punishment from the ghosts and evil spirits who move during this time, alone with their master, Lord Rudra. The verse again by Srila Prabhupada. This particular time is most inauspicious because of this time. The horrible-looking ghosts and constant companions of the Lord of the ghosts are visible. Responsively, this particular time is most inauspicious because at this time the horrible-looking ghosts and constant companions of the Lord of the ghosts are visible. So Kasyapa is asking Diti, according to the purport, to wait. Waiting is very important. There are a lot of English proverbs about waiting for a time, and it is said that in this verse that ghosts have the power to punish. So one has to wait. But it's not possible always to wait, even though Hiranyakashipu was given the option to wait in a former's life when he was one of the doorkeepers of Vaikuntha, but he waited. So waiting is very good. And in English, there are many proverbs about waiting. Patience. Patience is a virtue. Rome wasn't built in a day, and so on. And St. Peter's Cathedral was built in 120 years. So we think it is taking a long time for the Temple of the Vedic Planetarium to be built. It may take a while, but as it is said, patience is a virtue. Some people are of the opinion that it's not going to be possible to get the chandelier into the Temple of the Vedic Planetarium through the doorway. It would have to be, according to them, disassembled and then reassembled inside because it's so large. So patience can be a virtue. And there are many things we can learn about waiting and about patience. As in horticulture, we know that sometimes if you plant a seed, it may take 3, 4, 5, or 6 years or more for fruits and flowers to come of the seed. So nurseries tend to give cuttings to customers because they fruit and flower a lot more quickly than those started from seeds, although they're not necessarily as good a quality. So patience is very important, and it's mentioned in Upadeshamrita, or Nectar of Instruction, as dharyat. Utsahan nishchayat dharyat. One has to be very determined and very enthusiastic, and dharyat, very patient. Prabhupada himself was very patient. He started in very humble surroundings in the Bowery, in a loft, and it was some time before the movement became very successful. It was a few years, actually. And in a very short time, a relatively short time, it became very popular. So the point is that one has to be, as is mentioned in Upadeshamrita, very patient, even though one is determined. The idea that God helps those that help themselves is an English adverb or proverb that was mentioned several times by Srila Prabhupada. The first time, maybe it was the first time he talked about it in a public lecture or in a book, was when a sparrow lost its eggs to the ocean. The ocean came up and stole away her eggs. And the sparrow determined that she would get the eggs back. So bit by bit, she took pieces of the ocean in her small beak and became very determined to dry up the ocean. So she was very determined. And because of her determination, it is said that Garuda, her sister bird, because he's a vulture, decided to take up the task. And when the ocean learned of this, the ocean became very afraid and immediately returned the eggs to the small sparrow. And there, Prabhupada mentions God helps those that help themselves. The sparrow was very determined and was willing to wait, even if it would take many lifetimes, to get her eggs back. And somehow or other, Krishna intervened and the eggs were returned straight away. So there are many instances of having to wait. And Rupa Goswami tells us that anasaktasya vishayam yatarham upayunjita nirbandha Krishna sambandhe yuktam vairagya uchite, which means that one has to be willing to do everything for Krishna. And that is maybe one of the things that caused Prabhupada to be so admired by the people that surrounded him. He told us that we didn't have to be born as Brahmins, we didn't have to be born as highly elevated scholars, but anyone could take up the process of Krishna consciousness. So here are the exact translations of these verses, Nasaktasya Vishayam, and it's a companion verse, Prapanjitaya Buddha Hari Sambandha Vatsuna. When one is not attached to anything, but at the same time accepts anything in relation to Krishna, one is rightly situated above possessiveness. On the other hand, and this is a companion verse, on the other hand, one who rejects everything without knowledge of its relationship to Krishna is not complete in his renunciation. So that is the translation that Prabhupada gave to these particular verses. And they are written in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. And when Prabhupada completed Nectar of Devotion, I think it was in 1972, he said that in the end, during his talk in 1972, after the book was published, he was very happy because it took a long time to do the actual translation. Didn't take so long, but the designing, proofreading, editing, printing, and so forth and so on took a long time. So it was done in 1972 in that part of the world, in Southern California. And Prabhupada said that now the Nectar of Devotion is published, and every one of you, he said, these are exact words, should read it repeatedly. not just once or twice, but repeatedly. And I'm on my 5th or 6th reading of this book, and each time I get newer and deeper realizations that it's not just a book that you can check off, oh, I've read this and go on to the next thing, but it can be read repeatedly and get deeper and deeper realizations, and that is actually the truth. So one has to be very patient, and just like Prabhupada was, he waited 2 or 3 years before the book was published. And in 1975, when Nectar of Devotion was copyrighted and published, Prabhupada was engaged in the translation of Chaitanya Chaitamrita. And in the middle of that translation, during that time he was translating that book, he translated the Nectar of Instruction, or Upadeshamrita, because it was very short and very small compared to Chaitanya Chaitamrita, maybe only 1/2 centimeter thick, but very important. And Prabhupada referred to many of the verses even before the book was printed and published, such as Utsahan Nishchaya Darayat. There are 6 principles which are very important in practicing Krishna consciousness. One of them is enthusiasm, one of them is determination, and another one is patience. One has to be very patient. These are important verses that Prabhupada taught us, and many devotees have to memorize. I think it is now even part of the Bhakti Shastra examination. Does anyone know if that is true? I think it is. Yeah, Nectar of Devotion, a very small but very important book by Rupa Goswami. And it's important to note that Prabhupada translated the books by Rupa Goswami, like Nectar of Devotion and Nectar of Instruction, while he was on his sojourn on this planet. He only did not translate books by his own Guru Maharaj, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He did translate part of it in Brahma Samhita, but it's very difficult to read. Many people, including myself, used to have a dictionary in one hand and the book in another hand to understand what he was actually saying. But hearing is very important. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, Vishnu. It's one of the first principles of devotional service is hearing. And Prabhupada, in his early life as a devotee, didn't want to hear Bhaktisiddhanta, but he was convinced by one of his friends that he should go and listen to him. And he told us that he didn't understand much of what Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was saying, but Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati noted, Prabhupada told us, that this boy listens. He listened to what he was saying, although he didn't understand everything. And at the end of the first talk, in his first meeting with Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, he said that now Krishna is in good hands, because this person is speaking the absolute truth. Even though the absolute truth was something he didn't completely understand, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati and Bhaktivinoda Thakur were very careful to explain that the impersonalism, which was very rampant and still is in that part of the world, was not true Krishna consciousness. There has been an age-old dispute between Vaishnavas and impersonalists, or Mayavadis, you might call them, and it was only due to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati and Bhaktivinoda Thakur that Vaishnavism was established as something that wasn't just sentimental or invented or newly written, but it was very old and very powerful. In fact, it is one of the reasons that Srila Prabhupada didn't translate some of the works of Bhaktisiddhanta is that he wrote particularly, he wanted to show the then British rulers of India, this was going back before 1947, that Vaishnavism was very intelligent and embraced some very intelligent people. Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati were writing in a way that showed that even the British people couldn't completely grasp, because it was so technical, so astute, and so learned. He wrote to show that the Vaishnavas, and Bhaktivinoda also wrote to show that Vaishnavas could be very, very learned and very technologically astute and very scholarly. So this began at that time in the early 1800s when Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati started preaching. And he established, and it was a very uphill and difficult battle, because most of the people in that part of the world, and still are, very impressed with impersonalism, Mayavadism. In fact, when people, devotees, chant Hare Krishna in any part of India, people gather around by the thousands, because they are aware that Hare Krishna is part of their religion. Although Vaishnavism, although Mayavadism doesn't fully understand what Krishna is, they think that Krishna is an ordinary person and he comes to this world for ordinary reasons. But this concept was firmly disputed and found to be erroneous, and said to be erroneous, by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati and Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So this mission was taken up by Srila Prabhupada, and in very early on he was dismissive, and he spoke very strongly against Mayavadis. And I myself was wondering, I was a new devotee then, and I was wondering, so what's wrong with Mayavadis? Why were they having such a big quarrel? What's wrong with that? And why is there so much internal bickering between devotees of Krishna, whether they're Mayavadis or whether they're Vaishnavas? And then eventually I came to understand that Mayavadis philosophically don't have a very full understanding. They are very attracted to liberation, especially to Sayujya, to becoming one with. But it's possible that people who are in that frame of mind, or who have been initiated into Mayavadism, people like Vasudeva's son and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and others, the Kumaras, and they were initially schooled in Mayavadism, and they grew up in that school. But after they had met Srila Prabhupada, who was a very strong Vaishnava, they changed and they became Vaishnavas. So it's possible that someone can go from being an impersonalist Mayavadi, like Shukadeva Goswami was another one who was an impersonalist in the beginning, and they can become Vaishnava. Although this is very rare, it is very rare for a Mayavadi to become a Vaishnava, but it has happened that Vaishnavas that sometimes become Mayavadis, unfortunately. One of Prabhupada's very intimate and close servants became something of a Mayavadi. I don't know what exactly he became, but Prabhupada wrote a letter. I was in England at the time, and he said, "I regret to inform you," this was a letter that was written to all the temple presidents, "I regret to inform you that our godbrother, so-and-so, I won't mention his name, has become an envious snake, So the point is that even someone who has become a strong Vaishnava or very steeped in Vaishnava philosophy can become an impersonalist or a Mayavadi. And sometimes it happens, not very often, but on rare occasions it does happen. So the point is that one has to understand the basic philosophical differences between Mayavadism and Vaishnavism. And once one understands the philosophical difference, then it is possible to become a Vaishnava for life, or to go through to the end of life. Even Prakashananda Saraswati, who is a rabid Mayavadi, became a follower. He wasn't converted to Vaishnavism, but he became a follower of Lord Chaitanya, and so did all of his followers, even though they weren't converted into Vaishnavism. So it's possible. And these are some of the essences. The Vaishnava philosophy is very deep and very difficult to understand. It's difficult to understand how someone can be like Shishupala and then retain, somehow or other go back in a future birth to become a Vaishnava. But it's possible, and it does happen. So these are some of the points that I wanted to make. And I think that one of the things that endeared Prabhupada in the early days was that one could do anything for Krishna. And whether it was automobile mechanics, taking out the garbage, or cleaning the temple, or cleaning the carpet, it was all accepted by Krishna as bona fide. And when he said that if one offers, and it's written in Bhagavad Gita, a flower, a leaf, or a water, something very insignificant, if it's offered with love and devotion, Krishna will accept it. And it doesn't matter if one isn't born as a Brahmin. It doesn't matter what the gift is. If it's a very, very meager gift or a very big gift, if it's done with love, Krishna will accept it. Krishna will accept anything that is done with love. And so that endeared many of Krishna's early followers to him, that anything could be done for Krishna. So these are some of the points, and if you have any comments or questions to make, please do so now. Yeah. None? Any? Yes?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. My question is, with the Purport knowing when is the right time to do things, like he was saying this is not a good time, so how do we know when things are good times or not good times to do things?
Oh, well, we have to take instruction from those who we think are more advanced than we are. Because sometimes we don't know what is the right time and what is the wrong time. Prabhupada has told us that for procreation there is a proper way to go about it. And there is an improper way also. But if we're not sure, it is always best to associate with devotees. In fact, we have to recite, all sannyasis have to recite a verse that says that the ocean of materialism is almost impossible to overcome. But this was sung of the Ajanti Brahman, and so if we and this at the end of this verse, it is said that this was approved by the previous acharyas who were fixed in firm devotion to the Lord Paramatma, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So association with devotees, especially those who we consider more advanced than we are, and to take instruction from them is very, very important. Even Lord Chaitanya said this in this verse that we have to recite every day. It's not only the reading of Krishna consciousness, but the association with advanced devotees that's very, very important. So that's how we can know what is the best time and what is the worst time. There's a novel. I think it was one. I forget who wrote it. It was, but it's a French novel that says that this is the worst of times and the best of times. And so we have to know what is the best of times by consulting with devotees who know. I think is that helpful?
Yes, thank you.
Hare Krishna. Any other comments or questions? Otherwise, we'll stop at this point. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.